Welcome back to the 23 Foils channel, everyone. I am your host, John. We are now in the top 4 round of Mad Alpaca's set championships. I find myself in the mirror against 2nd seed. I think I was somewhere between 6th and 8th seed. I had 2 unfortunate pairings in Swiss. One of them was 1st seed, and the second was I believe it was like a green steel, which put me at like a 1-1, so it made me barely in. Alright, here we see me progressing the standard kind of mirror match game plan, which is hand size, hand size, hand size. Making sure I can quest and keep it going. I decided to keep Chernobog on the board because there's no threat, no reason to not. I just keep questing them out before I decide to pop them. I believe we see a lot of uninkables in there, and the cards that are inkable are the ones I really want to be playing out, making this kind of a harder decision. I opt to go for inking a Friends on the Other Side instead of singing it, so I can get that body out there and then sing my other Friends on the Other Side for free next turn. And I know I have rabbits in hand, so I'm not the most worried about hand size generation because I have so many other tools in hand that it's okay to get rid of a song. Here we see he decides to put a little bit of pressure out with the castle and the Maleficent. I decide to mirror that. Even though my opponent was on the play and my castle was 2nd, I am still in a pretty commanding position because now he's the one playing catch up to my lore. I know I just gotta be able to take out his castle first. And unfortunately, he falls victim to my very classic rule of do not play a castle if the opponent has a character out on board. I decided to risk it with mine just to be able to protect my Maleficent, knowing that he would more than likely want to put damage on my castle versus trading our Maleficents. If I would have played anything else, he probably would trade Maleficents, which would not have allowed me to clear castle this turn. And here we see him doing likewise, clearing castle. He makes mention that forgot to ready his Maleficent, so that's fine. And then playing a King Undisputed to clear board, which is very ideal for him. You love to see an empty board state on the opponents and then some nice little pressure on your own. But we still see I have a very healthy hand size, able to keep up that pressure, get some valuable card draw engines in the field. We're seeing a Medusa play by him, furthering his board state and presence, as well as removing my rabbit. Medusaing a rabbit is a fantastic play in the mirror because it prevents all that ancillary card draw you can do with bounces or singing or just a lot of other great tactics. So, very good move by him. Unfortunately, I think I had 3 rabbits total in hand, so I am in no shortage of card draw or answers, even seeing me opt to bounce that rabbit so I can clear the Sisu, kind of shut down that lore gain. Here we see a Peter Pan Shadow come out. Unfortunately, this is a terrible tech card that was included in a lot of lists to combat Diablo, which I really feel was unnecessary. We have 4 Brawls, typically 2 to 3 Medusa, and 4 King Undisputed, not even considering our Be Prepared options. So I think it is super overkill. It's an uninkable tech card, and it is dead in your hand in every other matchup. You have to play it once you get it in hand, or else it just sits there. So I think realistically its best play in the mirror is to either snipe a exerted Chernobog or Flynn, or be an 8 cost play with Maui to one-shot a castle. Otherwise, it's just really not doing anything for you. I guess you can bring it out and just turn it sideways like you would a Pascal, but there's just too many answers. Like we even saw, it just brawled it immediately. Here we see I just keep putting on the heat with the card generation. I'll say every time this mirror match is determined by hand size, and here we see one of the things I would consider like a perfect turn in the mirror match. I had 1 body out, I was able to sing friends on the other side. I'm able to ping it with Yzma. Most of the time it's normally a rabbit I end up hitting, but this time it was a goat. Give me that bonus lore, but an additional 2 cards. So I gained 4 cards and a single lore in a turn. Sometimes it's 5 cards in a single turn, which is now the equivalent of a 10 cost sing together song in the current state of the game. So incredibly strong plays. And then I was also able to bring out the Chernobog, keeping Yzma safe from King Undisputed. Looks like I'm already at 8 ink, and he's at 6. So his lack of hand size is really starting to punish him. See Medusa coming down, clearing his board, allowing me just to quest hard with Yzma safely. Here we see Maui coming down, just about the only thing that could clear Yzma in that scenario. Besides a 2-card play with a Fox. But at least this way you can get Maui to stick around. Unfortunately, that play also does nothing for his board state. He doesn't have anything in the quest. It's just kind of sitting there out in the open. Here we see another Yzma play, allowing me to keep my Medusa safe after questing, also having another Yzma on board, threatening another 2 more lore gain the following turn, and as well as generating me even more hand size. The card disparity between each of our hands is like a 2 to a 4 multiplier. I think he only has 3 or 4 cards in hand, and I look like I'm somewhere between 10 and 12. You can see multiple B preps in hand. I have all the ink to be able to play him out. There's not really a world where he can come back at this point. Because I can just keep playing cards out, turning him sideways, and even if he wipes them, I have enough to just keep pulling him out, or if he reestablishes board, I can just be prepared. So this is really a bleak scenario. Here we see me just starting to goat it out. Still 2 characters on board, making me have a threat of double his lore and more than double his hand size. This is just Mount Everest to climb out of. You see a pretty strong later game play. I think this is about the only time I'd ever play a Flynn in this matchup, is late game with a Maui to bodyguard it, as well as have a pretty big threat. But as always, that Flynn is just so easy to remove, and now I was able to safely remove that Maui as well. He still wasn't able to generate any lore, and I'm able just to play that goat right back out. So I'm threatening 17 lore, maybe 18. He does opt for the B prep, which means he has 0 board state. I get a card and a lore. I know I already have at least 1 castle, so this is going to be a pretty easy threat to set up for me. So of course the castle going out. Looks like I have 3 Be Prepareds to protect it as well, so I know no matter what, this is pretty much a win. And enough ink to just keep putting out big threats. So I have lethal on board and Be Prepared for days to take it out. He would need a Maui and a Fox, or a Maui and a Peter Pan Shadow to one-shot the castle to kind of curb my lore game, but unfortunately does not pan out for him. Here we see me just take the safe route, questing with Rabbit, Be Prepared, and there's slim chance there's anything you can do his next turn. Sisu Flynn just showing me what he has and proceeds to concede game. Great match. And here we go, start of round 2 of the mirror match. My opponent should still be on the play. Looks like I was mulliganing hard for some card draw. I managed to keep a brawl, but a castle looks like a rabbit or 2, and I lucked out and still have the turn 1 play, which is fantastic. He did not luck out and find his 1 drop. Looks like my inkable count is pretty low. Pretty standard opener here. I do have the turn 3 Maleficent. I'm just gonna have to keep inking these brawls. Everything else is too valuable. Of course, keeping that Chernobog out, not sacking it yet. No reason to get rid of free lore when there's nothing there to answer it. Finally giving me an inkable I don't mind getting rid of. Typically you don't really want to ink a goat or castles, but inking maybe 1 of each early game is fine if you're really struggling. I really want to hold on to that Maui for early castles. And there we see it. Debating hard if we want to repeat of our earlier match where we both had a Maleficent and castle on board. Here we see I go for that card draw for better options. I know I always have the Maleficent to be an attacker next turn with that Maui, unless it gets traded. I know I just pulled a Madam Fox. I think that will be my play line. And now no matter what, I can remove it next turn. Either he sacrificed something for my Fox and I can Maui the castle down, or he doesn't answer Fox and I can take out the castle and start progressing my own board state. Here we see a Sisu and Flynn coming in, putting on a lot of heat. But unfortunately, he did not handle that Fox, allowing me to clear castle. do want to protect my fox for additional castles in the future, or even being able to one-shot the Sisu without his little guys taking it out. Do decide to end up inking a castle for that play, valuing that Maui pretty highly. That's 1 goat and 1 castle I've inked, so I only have 3 of each remaining. You see that Peter Pan Rusher coming out, clearing my fox. Not a bad play. Definitely not the strongest, but unfortunately we do see the Medusa coming out. I think his best play would have been questing with the Sisu no matter what. If I fox the Sisu, if I Maui the Sisu, he's still getting that lore. He still has the other threat out of Flynn. But realistically, I'm going to answer the Flynn directly like I did. So realistically, he should be at 10 lore. He should have been greedy and quested the Sisu, because there's more answers to the Flynn than the Sisu, in my opinion. So I think I have all 3 of my Medusas in hand. 1 just left the field, 1 in the field, and 1 in hand. Which is a really strong early game in the mirror. Most of our threats and everything we're trying to do is 3 attack or less, so this represents me being able to starve him pretty hard here and being able to flip the aggressor role here in a second. You see a Chernobog come out, which is card draw. I really want to choke him out as many cards as possible, so we see that Medusa come back out. Or I should say an additional Medusa. I'm able to remove that goat before he can do any bounce shenanigans. And keep aggressively playing to the board and generating hand size. This is a pretty wide board for the state of the game for him to respond to. He pretty much needs to be prepared, which would pull 2 cards out of hand, and he just really doesn't have that many cards in hand. See Maui coming down. Still able to keep going hard for that card generation. Opting to clear his board, and then Yzma for a 5-card swing. It's 2 for singing the song, 1 for removing Rabbit from field, and 2 for Yzma's effect. This is an incredibly strong play in the mirror. That is now the equivalent of a 10-cost sing together song. I think We Can Fly. And it also comes with a 4/4 body. Granted, there's multiple cards going into that effect, but equivocally, it's the same stuff happening for that cost and less. We have Medusa coming down to sack my Chernobog. Unfortunately, he's kind of clawing to stay in this game. I have so many options available to me, and removing my Chernobog to just remove 1 card draw doesn't really hamper me at this time. It looks like I have like 10 to 12 cards, and I'm able just to keep recycling this Yzma. Yeah, it looks like he has 3 in hand, and I have somewhere around 10 to 12. It's just brutal disparity in cards. And I even have 2 more rabbits to keep that generation going. Fortunately, he is able to clip that alone Yzma. He does return the Medusa to hand and put out a castle. This is a really strong board state for him. That was a great play. Unfortunately, with all the cards in hand, I do have a Maui and a Fox, so I'm able to neatly clean that up. Here we see what I would believe is a misplay on his part. He opts to remove my Fox instead of questing. He needs to be the aggressor. He needs to be racing to the end. And it is better to make me waste my character to attack into his. We just see me continuing to generate hand and just a little bit of board pressure. Yeah, so the be prepared. Still not very many cards in his hand, and a million in mine. At this rate, I'll be able to play 2 to 3 characters every turn and win just by turning sideways. You would not be able to answer him fast enough at this stage, especially now with the Merlins coming out with their enter play and leaving play effects. So that Medusa come back in, unfortunately granting me yet another card. Able to sing, clears board, and play double goat, which is a very strong place to be. Represents 4 lore essentially no matter what, tying it up. If he B preps or clears the castle, I'm still questing it out. You see the B prep, so I do get that 2 instant lore. I don't blame that decision because I would have gotten the 2 card generation off them regardless. But now I get the 2 lore for them dying, 2 for castle. We're tied up. Start a turn. I have a million ink, a million cards in hand. I'm just going to keep playing bodies and turning up the heat. There's no way he can keep playing B prep. If he had the cards to kill castle, he would have went for castle. So the Sisu Flynn play, even though Sisu doesn't really do much for me right now, I think he's only at 2 or 3 attack because of his hand size. It's just pressure and quest value is what I'm really after, not really looking for the Flynn proc. See another Medusa come down and his own Flynn. Good old double draw for Sisu in turn. Able to torch it all down and go for a double castle. This represents a 2-turn timer for him to answer. I know he doesn't really have answers to castle, or he would have been playing them the last couple turns. Unfortunately, after these matches, he does kind of talk about not having a ton of experience in the mirrors, so we have a good long talk afterwards about navigating the mirror and what goals should be. So here I opt for the easy play, just go for the be prepared, and essentially all I have to do is wait for start a turn. There's no way he can answer everything. We see the concede and we move on to the top 2.